everybody, this is Shay. I'm going to do a couple of quick demos on how you can approach doing your illustration project in Illustrator. So I give you two options. I give you the option of doing a portrait of a family member or a friend or a celebrity, so that's one option. The second option is, say you like to design characters. Maybe you've designed comic book characters, animated characters, that kind of thing, or maybe it's something you just want to try. You can do that for your second option. So either you can do a portrait of someone, or you can create your own cartoon character and do an illustration of that character. And I'm going to show you both examples of how I would start on both. First, we'll start with the cartoon character. So this is a character I've been working on for a project I'm working on. And I've got a sketch. So what I'm going to do is in Illustrator, I'm going to go into Place, find my sketch, and I'm going to drag it to place it at size, and then kind of zoom up on it a little bit, get it in my artboard where I want it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it down so that I don't accidentally grab it. Now you'll notice it comes in on layer 1. That's the only layer in there, so it's going to show up here on layer 1. So I can click right here and lock layer 1. Then I won't accidentally grab it while I'm trying to draw. So I like to keep my reference images on the bottom layer, just because I can turn them off and back on if I need to. Now I'm going to create a new layer to do my actual drawing on. Okay, so the way I like to work with this is I've got my drawing, and I want to think about how the figure is constructed. When you work in Illustrator, you kind of work in layers, so you can draw shapes on top of shapes on top of shapes. And so when I'm looking at this character, I want to think about how I need to draw my shapes, which ones I want to draw first, what will come on top of another shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pen tool, and rather than trying to draw black with the black stroke on top of a basically black and gray drawing, I like to go in and pick something that's going to give me a lot of contrast, something like a yellow. So now I've got a yellow stroke. I'm going to go ahead and take the fill off of the pen tool, and it's up here in the top, or you can do it down here. What that's going to do is it's going to allow me to draw my shapes and have the fill color be transparent. And you'll see why that's important in a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start with the shape of his head. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm just going to follow along my drawing, clicking and dragging as I need to. So I'll click and drag that. And I'll put another point here, and then I'm gonna, the head is inside the hat, but we'll draw along the edge of the hat to make that the edge of the head. And I'll just do a straight line. I did a straight line just because it's fast, and what I can do is I can hold down my Option key on the Mac and hover over that, and then I can just click and curve that right into place and adjust that. Same here, I'll grab these points and adjust. And just try to, match up my illustration as closely as I can. And here's a straight line, so I need to curve that a little bit. Okay, so we've got the shape of his head. Now if I just flip this over here, I can toggle that to where the stroke color becomes filled and the fill becomes a stroke. I can just get a good idea of what the shape looks like, and then I'll flip it back. I'll flip it back because I want to still be able to see my drawing underneath to use as a reference. Next thing I want to go ahead and draw is, I want to draw this hair here, and I'll look at that. Here. Again, trying to figure out how many points I need, and I'll go back up a little bit above his hair here. Fill that in. Then I'll just kind of push that into place. And adjust these as needed. And I might move this down to intersect right there with the ear so I get a better line with that. And don't be afraid to zoom in on this stuff to get a closer look at what you're trying to do. I'm going to split that curve so I can get a good sharp curve. Okay. Now he's got 1, 2, 3 tufts of hair maybe. So I'll do those. Like here I just did that as one. But in this guy I'm going to go ahead and do it as a couple separate ones. And again I'm going to draw out a triangle shape. Use my control key and click and drag to get a curve. That's just a whole lot quicker sometimes than doing the other way. And here I'll go here, here, and I'll go underneath this hair here because I can stack that and put it in a layer and we'll never see some of that. And I'll show you that here in a second too. And then this is actually looks like part of the underside of his head, but I like that better as being a tuft of hair. So we'll do that. Do that. Goes here and here. Okay, now if I get my selection tool and shift, flip that, I can see what those shapes look like. I can do the same here. This is all one shape though. But I can flip that. So there's that hair. Okay. Now I've got another ear here to draw. And I'm trying to put, as few points as possible in just to keep things nice and clean. And kind of adjust that shape as I need to. Okay, so now I've got most of this part of his head made up. So I'm going to go ahead and assigning some colors. Let's go ahead and get the swatch palette. Okay, and so I've got some existing colors there. And maybe I don't have anything that looks like a good flesh color though. And I want a good flesh color here. So I'll pick something that kind of starts like a flesh color. So actually go ahead and click here to get your fill color. Make sure that's selected and get your swatch color there. I'll select the shape and then click on the swatch color I want, and he has that fill. I'll go ahead and select the stroke and turn that off. And what I can do is with the shape selected, I can click here on swatches, double click that fill and adjust it that way. Okay, so let's also select this ear and we can get that same swatch. Or actually, we don't have that saved over here. So what I can do is, if I want to get this color and it's not saved anywhere, I can go to my eyedropper tool, click on it, and that will fill it with that color. Now, once I've done that, let's say I'm going to reuse that color a lot. Over on the swatch palette, I can grab that swatch, drag it down here, and it adds it right here as a new color that I can click on anytime. Okay, now let's go ahead and give his hair some color. And he's kind of that blonde color, so let's make it a little less intense, maybe. So there's that. And again, the eyedropper tool will let me grab that. And I'll go ahead and move that swatch over here. Then I can select these colors, give them that fill. Now let's say that I want to vary this up a little bit and give it a little more light and dark. So maybe this tuft of hair in the front is lighter than the ones behind it. So I'll select the second color here, or the second shape, and I'll double click on its swatch and maybe just drag that down a little bit, and it darkens it up. And this one, I'll do the same thing and maybe darken it up a little bit more. Now the problem here is things are backwards. This tuft of hair should be in the front, these two should be in the back. So what I want to do is, I can do this a couple ways. I can select this shape and go to Object, Arrange, Send Backward. It will go backward one shape. And then I can do this one and go Object, Arrange, Send Backward. Now it's between those two. And then I can go Arrange, Send Backward again. And now it's behind the other two. So I get a little more depth to the color of his hair here. Okay, so I can continue working that way. What I do like to do though is I still need to draw his face. So I'll select the face shape and I'll just flip that down here, toggle that, where I have an outline in the stroke color. And then I'll take the nose and just draw out this shape. And for his eyes, I can just get an oval ellipse tool here. Click there. Click there. I can shift click both of those, assign them a black fill, and take the stroke off. This up here, this little indentation in his ear, I can select that. And I'm going to draw this shape out. And I want to give that kind of a darker flesh color, so I'll select my flesh color here, make that my fill color, bring it to the front, double click on it, and okay, and make it a little bit darker. Now when I flip this back, it's a little more like a shadow and not a harsh black line. So what you would do then with something like this is you would just continue to draw and create a shape for each of these areas, each of these shapes on the drawing, and make sure they're layered in a way that's front to back, gives you the depth of the thing you need it to be. And you would end up somewhere like this. Okay, and this is just what's called a flat illustration, meaning there's no shading or highlights in this. It's just all flat color. But you can see that's fairly effective as it is. It's good, clean drawing, and there's a lot we can do to that. But this would be like the first stage you could go with and do flats. Now what you can also do is you could, because it's a cartoon, you might want an outline around it. So you can select the shape. Now these are all grouped into a single shape. What you can do is if you group your objects, you can ungroup them. And it's still grouped, it's a couple groups, so you'll ungroup it again. And so you can see that group is getting smaller the more we ungroup it. So I'll continue to ungroup it until I get just what I want. Now I can select this arm and I can give it a stroke color. You can select the sleeve and give it a stroke color and size. Now another way you can deal with a group is if you have a group and you don't want to go do all that ungrouping, if you double click on that group, you hop right into it. And then you can select individual shapes, which is actually a better way to deal with that, because then your groups stay after you've finished altering them. And so by working with Illustrator this way, you can kind of set up your shapes initially, your illustration, but you can change so much later on. Now, we've been editing this group, right? I'm done editing the group. Up here at the top, you can see I'm in there. I need to go back to layer 1. If I click this back one level, I'll go back, and there we go. And I'll do a more in-depth video on how to get more texture and detail into this, but this is kind of a good starting point for you all, is just get where you're comfortable creating a really good flat illustration in Illustrator, and get you there. Okay, and then I'm going to do another video. I've got another one for you about how I would start a portrait taken from a photograph, creating it from a photograph. So check that one out too. All right.